All right, guys. Happy 2024. And, Chris already posted the winnings of the season, but it's not over until the last recap has been given. And here it is. So we finally closed out the season. So this is going to be the whole playoff recap. Um, And so, yeah, apologies for not doing them earlier. I had like the notes written up and everything for after the semifinals, but I just got too distracted with New Year's coming up and never got around to it. So, all right, so we're doing a big one. So let's get into it. So quarterfinals. Kelsey ripped me open like a 12-year-old opening his new PlayStation, beating me by 60 points. She had some players who showed up with lots of milk and cookies to get her the most points of that quarterfinals week with 147. Meanwhile, I was given mostly just socks and underwear by all my players except for my QB and defense. So Kelsey moved on. The other quarterfinal game was more exciting with Jerry and Kim going down to the last plays of the Monday night game to determine the winner. Jerry got only one great gift for the week with McCaffrey, but Kim also only got lumps of coal from everyone except Njoku. Going into Monday night, Kim was projected for the most points and looked like she was going to have a jolly time until Jackson Smith and Jigba caught that game-winning touchdown. Old Saint Smith and Jigba uh, delivered, and that's the story of how the Jerry stole Christmas. I think Kim was probably watching that game because that was the Seahawks versus the Eagles. Uh, so I'm guessing that game was on at the at the uh, at the Pat House, at the Dock House. Um, so yeah, so that goes into the semifinals, which set up Kelsey and Chris, and then Jerry and Claire and the others. So Kelsey woke up to plenty of good gifts with 130 points, but unfortunately, of course, who could have seen this coming? But Chris, I mean, Christmas is named after Chris, anyways. Of course, he's going to win. But Chris wrote his Christmas letter to his boss, Mr. Sleeper, instead of Santa, and got the most points of the week with 147, which was the exact same points that Kelsey got to win the most points of the last week. Anyways, all of the players in this game had plenty of holiday cheer, but Chris really made the biggest impact with his flex picks. He must have gave some spiked eggnog to Justin Jefferson, who delivered with 23 points. Yeah, I know. I could go for some spiked eggnog. I can always go for some spiked eggnog. Or not spiked eggnog. It's delicious, as Chris well knows. All right, between Claire and Jerry in the other semifinal game, it was Claire, the veteran girl mom, who showed how experienced parents handle Christmas and beat Jerry by 20. They were pretty even at most positions, with Jerry actually getting the better of Claire's running backs, but it was Claire's defense and kicker who packed on the Christmas ham, beating Jerry's defense and kicker by 24 points. It's 24 more points at just defense and kicker on Claire's team. But the worst part is that Jerry had an alternate defense and kicker on her bench that actually would have won her the game if she had played those two instead, but they weren't invited to play in the reindeer games. Did Rudolph teach you nothing, Jerry? So Claire moved on to face Chris in the championship, which was the first and second place teams after the regular season. So seems like a deserving championship. Chris mostly just outperformed Claire at all positions, and that was with four running backs on Chris's bench who all combined averaged 15 points each. So if you didn't have a good running back by the end of the season, then yeah, you're probably thinking, fuck that guy. For third place, like siblings fighting over that crappy gift card Grandma sent them both. Kelsey showed up to be the bigger sister and obliterated Jerry with 182 points. Kelsey, I believe that is the most points for the final week. Well done. Although I don't know. Oh wait, yeah. I think they still count. Yeah, that's right. We did the most points so that people were motivated during the championship weeks, even if they're not in the championship. Okay. All right. So that's the recap of the winners bracket. But in the avoid writing the recaps playoff bracket, let's go back to the quarterfinals, do some recapping. So Scarlett and Ryan both got admissions to the Winter Wonderland in the quarterfinals, which sent Vanessa and Pat to the recap bowl. Both games were close. Ryan beat Pat by 3, mostly thanks to the Dolphins' defense skiing past the Jets in a game that was 30-0, the real game, the Dolphins versus the Jets. So Scarlett beat Vanessa by 4 with a solid running back performance, and Devontae Adams and Cooper Kupp pouring on the hot chocolate. Vanessa had 26 points from her tight end, but not enough to sit at the adult table come dinner time. But both Ryan and Scarlett had short-lived victories when they came up against the loser bracket bye teams. Kevin won and put up 143 points on Ryan, thanks to his top sled dogs, Amari Cooper and Mike Evans. Gaetano beat Scarlett with 20, with big help from in the toy shop from Jameer Gibbs, Calvin Ridley, and Derrick Henry. So, Kevin, Gaetano met up for the ultimate snowball fight for draft position in 2024 fantasy football league. But Gaetano forgot to build any snowballs in his arsenal before the game and only got 70 points. Literally, every position player, including his QB, had less than 6 points, except for Jerome Ford. But so Jerome Ford, his defense was the Broncos, and his kicker, which is the Detroit kicker, got 60% of Gaetano's points. Actually, 62%. So bad start to 2024 guy. But even with Kevin, I mean, this game was pretty shitty between the two. Only 4 of the starters between the two teams, or out of the 20 positions total between the two teams, had more than 10 points. Only 4 out of 20. Pretty bad, guys. That's why you're in the recap bowl and not with some people who are in the winners bracket and then failed to do anything once they got there. All right. So it brings us to the ultimate main game that we all really care about and will remember ultimately and define the 2024 season. The recap bowl. Vanessa gets a snowfall of points and wins by 50 over Pat. She must have given all her reindeer a lot of carrots with a solid all-around team effort. Or, who knows, she's a veterinarian. Maybe she had access to some steroids and just shot up all her reindeer. All right, so Pat only had T. Higgins show up over the holidays with no one else beating their projected points. Pat, and we used to think that you were the reason Kim was so good. So, Pat, the weekly recapper is a sacred ritual that lives on through those who believe each year. Sometimes it doesn't seem like the weekly recapper exists. People have told me a lot over the past couple years that they don't think the recapper exists. But, and especially as we all grow, but as it's as if we all grow up a little and start to doubt if the magic of the weekly recap is real. But it's when we're at our darkest, when we're all busy with the vicissitudes of life, that we need the spirit of the recapper to remind us the most of what this fantasy football season is really about. Staying connected with good friends and waiting for those few times during the season when Gaetano gets overly drunk and comments in our fantasy chat about the Jags doing great or terrible. So, Pat, we look forward to your recaps next year. Good luck. Yeah. All right, guys. Have a good 2024. Catch you on the flip side. Bye bye.